Today's lesson is the unromantic truth about mistletoe. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
Hello, I'm Kiki.
And Christmas is coming up in just a week's time. And, of course, we've got a lot of customs and traditions associated with Christmas. And one we're going to talk about today is mistletoe. You may have heard of this before. It's a special kind of parasitic plant that grows on trees. But it does have special significance for people in Western countries. If mistletoe is above someone, you're allowed to give them a big fat kiss.
Right, and sometimes at Christmas time, you'll see kids chasing each other with a mistletoe because one child wants to kiss the other and maybe a little boy or a little girl might try to run away. So it's a really funny sight around the house. And that's a more romantic meaning of a mistletoe. But today we're learning about the unromantic truth.
Let's get to it, everybody. Let's listen to the first part of our lesson and talk about mistletoe.
The unromantic truth about mistletoe. Christmas time is here, and that means Christmas trees, bells, stars, and stockings are everywhere. Another common Christmas decoration is mistletoe, which people traditionally kiss under whenever they stand beneath it. Kissing under the mistletoe is surely the most romantic of the holiday traditions, but the plant itself is actually quite unromantic.
大家好，第一部分我们来介绍名词 decoration， 它的意思是装饰品或是装饰布置的意思。例如 Anne put up decorations around the house before the party. 在派对开始前 Anne 在屋内到处挂满装饰品。又或者说 Brad asked Rachel for advice on home decoration. Brad 向 Rachel 请教居家装潢方面的建议。
Okay, so again, the title of today's article is The Unromantic Truth About Mistletoe. If something's romantic, of course, it inspires love and admiration. But if something's unromantic, well, it does not inspire those things. And in fact, it could be kind of disgusting if you think about it. And yes, indeed, that's what we're going to focus on today, the unromantic aspect of mistletoe. And here in the first paragraph, it says, Christmas time is here. And that means Christmas trees, bells, stars, and stockings are everywhere. Indeed, Christmas is just a week away, so you can expect there to be lots of Christmas decorations all over the place. We've got Christmas trees, Christmas lights, we've got Christmas bells, we've got stars on top of Christmas trees, and we've got stockings everywhere. This particular custom may not be something that people in Taiwan know a lot about. What does that mean, stockings? Why would stockings have something to do with Christmas?
So if we think about the word stockings, you might think about what a lady wears that is usually in the nude or skin color or black that they wear under their skirt. It's like a sock. It goes all the way up past your waist. So that's what you would think about when you hear the word stockings. But in this case, a stocking is basically a sock-like bag that is hung over in the States or places with a fireplace. It would be hung over a fireplace. And I guess in earlier days, they would have been an actual sock. And parents would put little Christmas gifts or little treats in these stockings that are hung over the fireplace. And these would be in addition to other Christmas presents that they may get.
Yeah, in my family, of course, we got our Christmas presents. We opened them on Christmas Eve. Some people wait till Christmas morning to open their presents. And in the case of my family, we opened our presents at night on Christmas Eve. And then in the next morning, we saw that our stockings had been filled with more little treats, maybe a bunch of candy and a few small gifts or something like that. And because the stockings are so full of candy and treats and things like that, they're kind of too heavy to hang over the fireplace. So they would be lying on the floor in front of the fireplace waiting for us on Christmas morning. And in any case, these are popular Christmas decorations that you'll see at this time of year. And another common Christmas decoration is mistletoe, which people traditionally kiss under whenever they stand beneath it. So this is another popular common Christmas decoration. The word decoration just means something that you put up around your house or on doors or wherever that creates a sort of atmosphere, creates a certain kind of feeling, and we usually use decorations at holidays, but you can use them in other situations as too. But of course, Christmas decorations include these things.
And usually a mistletoe would be hung over a doorway or somewhere around the house, and people usually they'll walk around it. But during Christmas time, sometimes you might have people over, or you might be walking under this doorway, and you and somebody you like, or maybe just a parent or someone, you could be standing beneath this mistletoe and you could just have a little kiss. Sometimes on the cheek is fine too.
Right, and of course you probably need to do this with somebody you're already involved with. But in any case, we do have in this sentence the word mistletoe, which people traditionally kiss under whenever they stand beneath it. Whenever just means at that time. If you're not standing under the mistletoe, then you cannot kiss that person. Well, it is a romantic holiday tradition for sure, but the plant itself is actually quite unromantic, which we're going to talk about as our lesson continues. So let's dig in. Let's move on to the next part of our lesson. The name says it all.
The name says it all. The word mistletoe comes from the Old English mistletoe, in which mistle means poop and tan means twig. The name derives from the fact that the seeds of the plant are spread by birds that eat the plant's berries. After being digested and pooped out by a bird, the seeds are so sticky that they stick to whatever tree branches they land on, where they then grow into new mistletoe plants.
第二部分先介绍 twig 这个名词有细枝或是嫩枝的意思，可以说 The bird made its nest out of twigs and leaves. 那只鸟用树枝和树叶筑巢。或是 To make sure if the insect was alive, Denise poked it with a twig. 为了确认那只昆虫是否还活着， Denise 用一根树枝戳它。除此之外， twig 做动词用表示懂得或是意识到点点点的意思。例如Nathan hasn't twigged what his supervisor had said. Nathan 还是无法理解他主管到底在说什么。又或者是 Sally was scared at first, but twigged that the ghost she saw was just somebody in a costume. Sally 一开始很害怕，不过后来知道她看见的那个鬼只是某人装扮的。接下来我们看到动词 derive， 意思是起源于，来自于。例如 The word salary is derived from the Latin word for salt.薪水一词源自于拉丁文中的盐巴，或者 The indigenous people derive many dyes from various flowers. 原住民从各种花朵中得到许多染料。再来的单字是动词 digest， 这个字有消化，也可以是理解、领悟资讯的意思。例如 Many elderly people prefer soft foods as they are easier to chew and digest. 许多老人家比较喜欢软的食物，因为比较容易咀嚼和消化。或是 It took us some time to digest all the information. 要理解所有的资讯花了我们一些时间。另外补充名词 digestion D-I-G-E-S-T-I-O-N digestion 它的意思是消化或消化系统。我们可以说 Eating too much spicy food can cause problems with digestion. 吃太多辛辣的食物对消化不好。又可以说Veronica was having problems with her digestion, so she went to see a doctor. Veronica 的消化有问题，所以她去看医生。
Welcome back to part 2 of our mistletoe article. And the paragraph starts off by saying the name says it all. So it's hinting to us that the mistletoe isn't very romantic at all. The word mistletoe comes from the Old English mistletoe, in which missile means poop.
Oh no, It's horrible. Poop, of course, is excrement, what comes out of your bottom when you sit on the toilet, and it's the solid kind of waste that goes into the toilet. And, of course, when it drops into the water, it might make a plop sound. So that's poop here. I suppose the word poop itself is kind of trying to describe the sound it makes when it falls into the water in the toilet. And, of course, we've got the Old English term mistletoe, which might actually be pronounced mistelton. And mistel, it means poop, and ton means twig. A twig is like a small branch in a tree. You've got the main branches, you've got the trunk, then you've got the branches, and then when you get to the really small parts, which are only a couple of millimeters in diameter, those are twigs.
So a mistletoe essentially is a mistletoe, which is a poop twig. So the name derives from the fact that the seeds of the plant are spread by birds that eat the plant's berries. So we're still talking about the Old English word mistletoe, which is a poop twig. And basically the name derives from, or the name comes from. So when something derives from something, it comes from another thing. So this comes from the fact that these seeds, the seeds of these plants are spread by birds. And these birds, they eat the plant's berries. So I can only assume that they're going to poop out these berries.
I would assume so too. I think that happens with the civet coffee in Indonesia. There's a similar concept there where some animals eat coffee beans and then they poop them out and people gather them and make coffee from them. But again, the name derives from the fact that the seeds of the plant are spread by birds that eat the plant's berries. So again, back to the word derive, that just means the origin of something. I could say, for example, the name of the United States of America. America derives from the name of a European explorer by the name of Amerigo Vespucci, or the name of Venezuela is derived from the city of Venice in Europe. I think an explorer from Europe went to Venezuela and saw these houses that resembled Venice, so he called it Venezuela. So the name derives from that. It comes from that. And the name mistletoe is derived from the fact that the seeds are spread or distributed by birds who have eaten the plant's berries. And after being digested and pooped out by a bird, the seeds are so sticky that they stick to whatever tree branches they land on, where they then grow into new mistletoe plants. That's kind of cool. That's how the mistletoe seeds get spread around the world.
Right. So the bird will eat the berries, and the seeds, they won't be digested fully by the bird. So digested is when you eat something and the acid in your stomach is able to break down the food or whatever you have eaten and separate it into waste or energy that your body can use. And in this case, the bird, they're not able to digest the seeds, just like the civet cat can't digest the coffee beans. So they poop it out. And when they poop out these seeds, they're so sticky. So if it's sticky, it will be attached or it will stick onto something. So it will stay on something and it will be very hard for it to come off. So these sticky seeds then are stuck onto whatever tree branch that the poop lands on.
Right, so the bird has eaten a seed from the mistletoe plant. It flies around to another tree, then it perches on a branch and starts whistling like birds do. And then, of course, after it gets done whistling, it will poop out the seed, which is sticky, and then it sticks to the branch, and there it can grow into a new mistletoe plant. And that technically makes mistletoe parasitic plants, which we'll talk about in the third and final part of our lesson for today. So let's get to it. Let's listen first.
Mistletoe is a parasite. Although it partially relies on sunlight for survival, a mistletoe plant gets most of its nutrients from the tree to which it's attached. The roots of the mistletoe penetrate through the bark of the host tree, allowing the mistletoe to absorb water and nutrients from the tree. This, in turn, allows the plant to stay green all year round, even in winter.
第三部分介绍名词 parasite， 它的意思是寄生植物或是寄生动物、寄生虫。例如 Some alien species of plants can be parasites to local ones and cause damage to our ecosystem. 一些外来种植物可能会寄生在本土植被上，并对我们的生态系统造成损害。或是 This parasite enters the body via dirty water. 这种寄生虫借由脏水进入人体。最后我们来看到 penetrate. 这个动词有穿透、进入或是渗入的意思。例如 Only a little sunlight penetrated the foggy forest. 只有一点阳光穿透雾气弥漫的森林。又或者 The cyber criminals penetrated the company's database. 网络罪犯成功渗透该公司的资料库。
Welcome back to part 3, where we learn about the mistletoe being a parasite. So in our second part, we learned about these birds being able to spread the seeds of the mistletoe plant. And you'd think that it's a positive thing that they're able to help these seeds spread and let them grow into new mistletoe plants. But actually, the mistletoe is a parasite. So what is a parasite? A parasite is basically an organism or microorganism that lives off of other living things. So this mistletoe is a parasite. So it will need to live off the energy of other living plants. So another example of a parasite would be a leech. So if a leech ever got onto your body, it would suck your blood, and it needs your blood to survive. So that's what a parasite is.
Pretty disgusting, but of course the world is full of parasites. There are probably billions of parasites living on your body at the moment. You could also describe a person as a parasite if they are overly dependent on other people. They're always borrowing money from you. They want you to pay for their food and give them rides everywhere. So you could describe such a person as being a parasite or a leech. A leech, of course, is a kind of parasite. But here we're talking about mistletoe, and it is a parasite, or we could describe it as a parasitic plant. Now, although it partially relies on sunlight for survival, a mistletoe plant gets most of its nutrients from the tree to which it's attached. So yes, it can rely on sunlight. It gets a lot of its energy from sunlight, but it also gets most of its nutrients from the tree to which it's attached. Nutrients, of course, are things that we need to survive, vitamins, minerals, and things like that.
And sunlight, of course, are the rays or the light that come from the sun. And the sun will give off these rays and vitamins that would help these plants grow. So we learn about photosynthesis that lets plant grow because they need to feed off of the sun's light.
Right, and of course, we need sunlight ourselves as human beings to produce vitamin D, or to feel warm on a cold day, or to get a suntan during the summer. But in this particular case, the mistletoe's roots penetrate through the bark of the host tree, allowing the mistletoe to absorb water and nutrients from the tree. So, of course, the mistletoe plant has roots, and those roots grow, and then they penetrate through the bark of the host tree. To penetrate means to go inside of something. And in this particular case, we're talking about the roots. And of course, here in Taiwan, there are lots of plants that grow on houses, and their roots kind of penetrate into the bricks or something like that. So every once in a while, you need to pull them out. There's a wall next to our house outside, and every couple of months or so, I have to pull these plants out of the wall because their roots have penetrated or grown into the wall.
And here we see the host tree. This is really important when we think of a parasite and host relationship. Usually a parasite will have a host because they live on this other living being, and that being will be the host. It doesn't mean that they're invited in. Usually when we think of the word host, you're usually the person that invites someone to come to your party or come to your house. But in this case, this host tree is something that the parasite is living on and specifically eating off of the host tree. So it's absorbing the water and the nutrients from the tree.
And this, in turn, this therefore, or as a result, allows the plant to stay green all year round, even in winter. And of course, sometimes during the winter, lots of trees and plants lose their leaves because it's just too cold. But in this particular case, mistletoe plants can live during the entire year, and that's why they're so popular or common during Christmas time. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分有一句写到 Another common Christmas decoration is mistletoe, which people traditionally kiss under whenever they stand beneath it. 另一种常见的圣诞装饰是胡寄生，传统上每当人们站在它下面时都会亲吻。好，在这个句子里面 Another common Christmas decoration 这部分是主词补语， is 是动词， mistletoe 是主词，后面它再以 which 引导的关系子句来对这个主词 mistletoe 做补充说明。所以简单来讲啊，这个句子的结构就是主词补语加 be 动词加主词，那么主词后面带有修饰语，而这是将主词补语提前的倒装句。我们来学习这样的用法哦。好，当句中的主词它带有比较长的修饰语时，或是呢你要强调主词补语的时候，可以把主词补语移到句首，然后把主词动词进行倒装。那以句型来看，假设我们直述句的基本句型是主词加 be 动词加主词补语，这个主词补语也许是个现在分词 VING， 过去分词 PP， 或是形容词，或是介系词片语等等。现在我们把主词补语移到句首，经过倒装，句型就会是主词补语加 be 动词加主词。同学们有没有注意到，你其实只要把主词跟主词补语对调就可以咯，只是要特别注意主词跟动词的单复数的一致性要有一致。好，例如 A note left by his mom was lying on the kitchen table。那现在我们把这个主词补语 lying on the kitchen table 移到句首，经过倒装，句子就变成 lying on the kitchen table was a note left by his mom。 在厨房桌上的是一张他妈妈留的字条，所以我们看到主词补语跟主词进行交换就可以咯。另外课文句子有用到 whenever， 在这里是用来引导时间副词子句，表示说每当怎么样，每次怎么样，意思就等同于 every time 或是 each time。 举例来说 She thinks of her grandmother whenever she hears the song。 每次听到那首歌的时候，她总是会想起她的祖母阿嬷。好，那么 whenever 还有一个用法是引导让步副词子句，表示说无论何时，不管在什么时候。这时候 whenever 它可以用 no matter when 来替换。举例来说There's always something fun to do whenever you visit the city。 无论你何时造访那个城市，总是有好玩的事可以做。那也可以用 no matter when you visit the city 来表达一样的意思。好，那以上今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Stocking. We hung the stockings ready to be filled with holiday surprises over the fireplace. Decoration.After bringing the Christmas tree home, the family covered it with bells, stars, and other decorations. Twig. The small bird built a tiny nest out of twigs. Derive. The word captain derives from the Latin word caput, which means head. Digest. Norman knew it would take time to digest the huge meal he had just eaten. Nutrient.Natasha likes to eat bananas because they're packed with important nutrients. Penetrate. As the sun rose, its light slowly began to penetrate through the thick leaves of the forest.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Kiki.
See you next time.